Hello, thank you for joining me. And today I'm planning to share some thoughts on a key aspect of Buddhist philosophy. We call it the Four Diligences. I've also prepared a guided practice at the end of this talk, so I hope you'll stay and join me for that. We don't have to be Buddhists to engage with Buddhist philosophy. It has lessons for all of us, and it's so helpful to all of our lives today. So to put the Four Diligences into context, we have the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the Buddhist path to freedom from suffering. And that path has three divisions, one of which is called right effort. And right effort is essentially the same thing as right diligence. So the Four Diligences that I'm going to talk about today are the practices that enable us to practice right effort on the Noble Eightfold Path. Gosh, that sounds rather complex, doesn't it? A lot of numbers involved in Buddhism, but hopefully what I'm going to describe and explain will be much more straightforward. In Buddhism, a traditional definition of right effort is to exert oneself, exert, to make some effort, to develop both wholesome qualities and to release unwholesome qualities. And right diligence has 4 steps which involve practicing mindfulness in such a way that we focus our attention on watering the positive seeds within us and also resting or putting back to bed the negative or unhelpful seeds. And what are these seeds? So in Buddhist psychology, our consciousness is represented by a circle of 2 layers, and the lower layer or the lower level of our consciousness is called the store consciousness. And it contains all of the seeds of our experience, both our well-being and our ill-being. And if we water a seed within our awareness, it'll become energized and it will come up out of the store consciousness into our mind consciousness, where it becomes a mental formation. So you can think about the store consciousness a little bit like being like a basement where we put things that we're not necessarily using right now, but there's no space for them maybe in the living room at the top, but we still have them. They're still there all the time. Of course, in modern psychology, we would differentiate these as being the unconscious and the conscious mind. But we call them the store consciousness and the mind consciousness. So what are the 4 steps or the 4 diligences that make up right diligence or right effort? Here they are. The first step in right diligence practice is not to allow the unbeneficial seeds to manifest. So in the depths of our store consciousness, we have the seeds of anger, fear, despair, jealousy, and these are the kind of seeds that are not beneficial to us. So we don't really want to water these seeds. So how do we avoid doing that? Well, whenever we engage in communication with someone, or if we watch something or listen to something or read something, we're watering seeds. And if we can consume these things in mindfulness, then we can have a greater awareness of the effect of that consumption. So the key to this diligence is mindful consumption. In other words, what we allow to come into our attention from the outside world, and essentially to avoid experiences that water these negative seeds. The second step in right diligence is, if by chance we have watered those seeds of anger, despair, jealousy, or suffering, and they have come up as a mental formation, we need to try and do something to help them to go back down, to go back to sleep again. So we're not trying to suppress them or necessarily indulge them, but we want to help them to get back down into the basement as soon as possible. So how do we do that? The first thing we do is we acknowledge them and accept them. They have come up. And the second thing is we can observe them and we can see how over time they do change and eventually they do pass away to make room for different formations. And then thirdly, if necessary, we can bring our attention to some wholesome activity or some wholesome manifestation so that we essentially crowd out or don't allow space for those unhelpful formations. The third step in right diligence practice is to actively invite the beneficial seeds to come up. So you can think about beneficial seeds as like a friend maybe you haven't seen for a while, and their presence up in your living room will bring you a lot of joy. So invite them in. You know their presence is going to help ease any difficulty that you might have. But that friend is within you already. The capacity to be happy, to be joyful, to be compassionate is already there. So we can create feelings of joy, happiness, peace, self-fulfillment, forgiveness, all these helpful formations. And we can allow those to be watered and to manifest and to come up. How do we do that? We can think and act and engage in wholesome activities that bring up joy and love and compassion. The fourth step in right diligence practice is that when something beneficial does arise, we want to keep it with us for as long as possible. Again, coming back to our friend in the living room, we can actually invite them to stay for longer. So the longer that these beneficial seeds stay in the living room, the stronger they can become. When good things arise, then try and keep them in your mind consciousness for as long as you can. How do you do that? You keep your attention on this energy or feeling or mental state for as long as you can. And then that seed continues to grow and become stronger and will manifest more easily the next time we want it. So these 4 practices of right diligence will help us to create and maintain wholesome mental formations. And that's really going to benefit us, and it's going to benefit everyone that we come into contact with as well. So I wonder if you'd like to practice this now. And in this practice, the aim is to notice what's coming up from the store consciousness into the mind consciousness. In other words, from our subconscious to our conscious mind. In other words, what's arising in our mind, both in terms of the content of our mind, what we're thinking about, and also the state of our mind. Is it a balanced or is it an unbalanced? Is it a happy or an unhappy mind? So we're not in this practice thinking or analyzing or interpreting or problem solving. Our mind is brilliant at doing that. But actually what we're doing is we're noticing, experiencing, realizing, understanding through our direct observation and our insight. So there's 5 steps in this practice. It's a relatively brief practice, just a few minutes, and I hope you'll join me in it now. So firstly, step 1, allow yourself to be comfortable. Adopt a stable and upright and dignified posture. But allow your body to be at the same time relaxed and comfortable. And connect with your breath and with your body as a whole for a few moments. Just take your time to settle. Settle your breath, your body, your emotions, and your mind. Secondly, shift your attention to your thoughts. If it helps, you can use any metaphor that helps you to observe your thoughts, such as clouds in the sky, or passing cars, or helium balloons with words printed on them, or something else. Or perhaps even the idea of seeds coming to the surface and growing like plants or flowers. So whether you like the idea of using metaphors or not, just have a sense of thoughts arising and passing through the mind and moving on in their own time. We're not trying to create any particular thoughts, and we're not trying to get rid of any thoughts either. Just observe them in an open, curious, and non-judgmental way. Thirdly, identify one particular thought. Perhaps there's one thought that's recurring or persistent or stronger than the other thoughts. Now allow your attention to move with that thought. You could label this thought according to what it is. For example, I'm thinking about a conversation I had with someone, or I'm thinking about a specific task that I would like to do. So allow this thought to visit without being drawn into the story behind this thought too much, observing it openly. Now you're aware of the content of mind. Fourthly, in relation to that chosen thought, connect with your state of mind. Is your mind calm, peaceful, joyful, restless, sad, jealous, anxious, depressed, or something else? What is your state of mind? You might like to label it once again. And your mind can also have a combination of states, or conflicted states, or changing states. So just acknowledge your current state of mind in relation to that particular thought. So just allow the awareness of the state of mind to manifest without being judgmental about it in any way. Aware of the state of mind and aware of the content of mind. Now, fifthly, sit with and contemplate the content and nature of mind that has arisen in you right now. Contemplate. So the aim of this part is to hopefully gain some insight into the experience if possible. So just taking a few moments to sit and stay focused with the content and nature of mind right now, and allowing any understanding to arise just of its own accord, just by maintaining your attention. And don't worry if nothing obvious comes to mind, or if it's not too clear. There are no insight. Perhaps some contemplative questions may help you. Where does this seed, this mental formation, come from? What have I done or not done recently to cultivate this seed? Is this a positive or helpful seed to arrive in my mind consciousness? If it's helpful, how could I cultivate more of this or reinforce this seed? How could I get it to stay for longer? If it's not helpful, how could I avoid watering that seed in the future? What could I do or do differently that would help this seed to return to the store consciousness and avoid it being watered again? As you ask these questions, just allow any answers to come. And notice any tendency to be self-critical. And if criticism comes up, just allow that to be observed and to pass away as well. And the final part of this contemplation is just to think, what does this mean for me in my life each day and for the choices that I make? And then take a few moments now just to let go of this contemplation and just to come back to an awareness of your breath and your body as a whole. And let any thoughts and feelings just pass away without analysis or interpretation. And enjoy the experience of just being with your breath and body for a few moments. And now we'll bring this time to a close. And I'd like to say a huge thank you for tuning in to this talk and practice on the Four Diligences. I hope you gained some benefit from it and enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, then please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the near future. Thank you so much and take good care.